What's going on YouTube? JT is Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition of my DC comic book reviews. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about Night Terrors Punchline issue number 1. This one is written by, was it something Lore, and then Danny Myers was the artist on it. Let me check one more time in terms of the credits. Danny Lore and Lucas Myers are the creative team behind this particular issue of Night Terrors. And this one is focused, of course, on Punchline. That's right, the character created by James Tynion, who was like the Joker's girlfriend. And she's had a couple of spin-offs. She kind of had a bit of buzz when she first came out, but like I feel like the buzz has kind of weighed down a little bit on her. But hey, you know what? She's still like popular enough, I guess, to get her own little one-shot or two-shot series within Night Terrors. And yeah, let's go ahead and talk about it. So I will get the pros out of the way right away. I think this is a beautifully drawn comic from start to finish. I think each page pops quite well. There's some nice-looking nightmarish images. And I think the way the thing plays around with whether the character's awake or really asleep, I think that aspect kind of works fine with it. What doesn't necessarily work is the fact that this is a Night Terrors thing, and once again, Insomnia has no bearing on the plot. This feels like a kind of random side quest, and I don't know if anything's going to come about with the follow-up issue, because there's only a 2-issue thing, but like just to kind of have it like in this perspective of a Punchline thing. But the whole thing is, you know, everyone's supposed to be asleep and Insomnia is looking for the Nightmare Stone. We once again get an issue where Insomnia is not even in it. So what's the point of it in terms of like titling it Night Terrors? You know what I'm saying? I feel like, as I stated in the other videos, like Insomnia should be more at the forefront of these one-shots, right? He should be tied into them. Maybe he'll pop up in the second issue, and this is kind of the build-up to that. But I feel like that's a character who should appear in these types of storylines. He appears in the Superman one, which I will get to covering right after this video, but he's not really in this one. So the story this time around is Punchline. The way they kind of play around with it, at first they make it seem like, oh, she's one of the few characters who's awake, but then a lot of unexplained stuff happens, like she kills Barbara Gordon, which Barbara Gordon's not going to die in a Punchline comic, so it's obvious she's still got to be in the dream world, because a nightmarish version of Barbara Gordon shows up at one point and comes face to face with her, and they kind of get into a bit of a fight, and it kind of ends really ambiguously that this cyborg Barbara Gordon Batgirl is going to kind of end her life in existence. So it's like she's clearly asleep even though she thinks she's awake, so you have a character who doesn't realize they're dreaming. So that aspect of it kind of worked, because at first they kind of make you believe it's going to go in one direction. They kind of do the shift at some point in the issue, because like I said, Barbara Gordon is not going to die in a Punchline comic. I mean, there's no way Barbara Gordon should lose a fight to Punchline. I don't care. I get it. She went to high school or college and all that. She doesn't have the training or the skill set. It's like when Joker tries to fight Batman one-on-one. There's no reason that this character should be able to beat Batman in a fist fight. He has other methods to kind of get back at Batman. Like the Joker should not be on Batman's fighting level. And just like Punchline should not be on Barbara Gordon's combat skill level. She's had training from Batman. That alone should warrant like these other characters not having the skill set. Now, if they're going to toe-to-toe with like a League of Assassins type character, then that's a whole other story. But Punchline being able to beat Barbara Gordon in a fight, I just don't buy that. So yeah, I mean, that's kind of the gist of the issue. I know they have the little box right here. A mysterious and deadly new villain named Insomnia has struck. The entire world has been forced into eternal slumber. Well, most of the entire world. But again, the way this ties into the event, it feels rather just kind of like a random offshoot. It doesn't really add to the overall narrative. It's just Punchline kind of doing her thing. And this is kind of what her nightmare is, sort of, but she kind of enjoys a lot of it. So it's kind of like the Catwoman thing, where the characters who are kind of more villainous don't really have the big nightmare stuff unless you're the Joker. Like Joker had one where it was like, okay, that one had some funnier aspects to it, like because Joker's in a bit of a depressed state. Like this one, she's kind of just like having a good time up until like the very end. I feel like the one who just got the best deal seems to be Catwoman, because all things considered, hers didn't really feel like much of a nightmare. But yeah, like Punchline, of course, has hers, and it just kind of comes together like this. I guess it's tying into her little storyline that came out recently. I didn't exactly read that, so I don't know what's really going on with her. But yeah, there's some, like I said, the artwork is really, really good. I think it really pops off the page. It really helps like elevate the story. And I know like some writers are kind of like kind of handcuffed in a story like this, where they're kind of forced to write something kind of forced to write something with this kind of concept, but it doesn't really add so much to the overall event, which is kind of my main complaint with it. But I mean, all things considered, it's an all right issue on its own. It's just that it doesn't really add anything to Night Terrors. I will have to wait and see what the second issue has, but all things considered, you probably could just have not made this issue in general. I mean, yeah, we'd be robbed of some really good looking art, but the writer and artist can be utilized in another storyline. It just, this Night Terror storyline so far, it's like so much of it has felt kind of meaningless at this point. Maybe the second issues will pick up, but I feel like if you're going to have that whole concept of Insomnia going into the dream world and trying to find the Nightmare Stone, then let's have him appear more in these side stories. So that's kind of where I'm at. I mean, we're on week 3 already, so we're almost like to the halfway point of this event, and Insomnia has hardly appeared in a lot of these issues. So it is what it is, I suppose. I mean, you don't necessarily have to read this one to get the overall events. If you're looking, like I said, for some nice looking artwork, if you want to see something more Punchline focused, if you're a fan of that character, then I guess this will be something you'd enjoy. But as it stands, I think it's just kind of all right so far. Really nice artwork, and they did the best what they could given the constraints of the story, or like being caught up in this whole Night Terrors event, which is way too many issues for an event like this. But like, I mean, as it stands, I think the issue itself is, you know, it's serviceable. So with some really nice looking artwork. But anyways, those are my quick thoughts on Night Terrors Punchline number 1. Still got a couple more videos I'm going to get out back to back, and then I got to go and read the non-Night Terrors comic books, because there are other comic books that are still coming out outside of Night Terrors. I know with Night Terrors, it's kind of taking everything over by storm, but there's other things to talk about. So anyways, if you read the issue, let me know what you thought of it in the comment section down below. Be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content, the bell for notifications, all that other fun stuff. And I will be back right after this with a video review on Night Terror Superman number 1, which was by Williamson. So of course it has like more actual connections to the plot. So yeah, that'll be next. All right, peace out, everyone.